The advice and opinions expressed by Dr. Grant-Pichet and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice.
Dr. Doreen Grant-Pichet is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism. Doreen Grant-Pichet.
Dr. Grant-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grant-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grant-Pichet is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen. I'm painfully aware of the fact that my child has a diagnosis that is considered a disability. I also know that he's capable of learning. It just takes him longer. Here is my never-ending question. How do I know when to push him and when I'm pushing too hard? There are so many times when I just don't know if he is doing or not doing something because he can't or he just doesn't know how to yet. This weighs on me. I don't want to be asking him to do things he can't do, but I also don't want to coddle him to the point where it is me getting in the way of his progress. I appreciate any insight. I love this question because I can relate to this so deeply. It's always that tussle of when do I push and when am I pushing too hard?
Yeah, absolutely. And to a much lesser degree, I guess, Shannon, all parents, I think, go through that with their kids, right? And much more so when a child is on the spectrum, because you just don't know. You don't know what the capabilities are. Should I keep pushing or not? And this is a very, very important question, not for many different reasons. One reason, obviously, is you don't want to push the child to the point where they become frustrated and start to just avoid, interaction and you and anyone who's trying to teach them. Because what you then would have is a child who is showing challenging behaviors, perhaps, in order to avoid or escape any kind of learning opportunity. So you definitely don't want to push too hard. On the other hand, you don't want to back off, because that is kind of one of the things that too often happens, which is very unfortunate, because the world thinks that just because there is a diagnosis of a disability, that we should completely back off and not even help the individual learn things that are going to help them do very well in society, thrive in society. So there has to be a balancing act here. It is very important. And for me, it really is all about observing the individual and making sure that it's fair, right? This is where that fair thing comes into mind, because really what you have to be doing is push, because you always want your child to learn as much as they can. This is for any child with any disability or no disability, right? The more they learn, the more they're going to thrive in society and life. But at the same time, you don't want to stress them out. You don't want to be the person that causes them any additional stress, anxiety, just feeling of hopelessness, feeling of I'm not good enough. So you have to always keep an eye on that. And the way to do it is just to look at your child's demeanor. How are they doing? Are they happy? Am I rewarding them enough? When I introduce things, do I introduce new topics at an easy enough level where my child is challenged, interested, but not avoidant? Am I able to balance it out so that along with all the other things they're practicing in life or have just learned, I'm not overwhelming my child? So I think those are all the different things to pay attention to, and every child is different. So you really do need to just pay attention to your child's response level. That doesn't mean giving up the very first time your child objects. Imagine if we all gave up when our typically developing kids objected to going to school or objected to having piano lessons. I don't know, no one would be going to school, right? So there's a certain level of, encouragement and prompting and kind of supporting and pushing. But at the same time, there's a lot of reward and just making sure that you you're reasonable about it, right? And when you work with professionals, if you have a child who's on the spectrum and you're working with someone who's a professional, they should be able to tell you when enough is enough. Like sometimes I've had families where we will actually say, okay, your child he's not going to pick up vocal language. We've tried for the last year. It's time to teach him some other form of communication because we don't want him to be frustrated and angry, and it's important for him to be able to communicate. And parents just feel like, no, I just kind of really want him to talk. And that can also be unhealthy. It can be unhealthy for the family, for the child. And so we want to be realistic, but at the same time, listen, there are so many kids, Shannon, where I don't want to let go. I'm not ready to let them go because I know they're capable of doing so much more.
Yeah.
Don't forget, you can watch Ask Dr. Doreen live every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time. We hope to see you there.